transfer news these days has gone up to a different level because today, my friends, we'll be discussing our efforts to sign Boca Juniors wonder kid centre-back in Aaron Anselmino. On top of that, we have more updates surrounding Olise, plus a lot more big stories. So my friends, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that like button, and to give you guys some context, tonight I'm getting ready to fly out to go to Italy, so I'm hoping to make some videos whilst I'm in Lake Como, but I need to give you guys a heads up. The editing might not be as on point because I just won't have as much time to focus on that. I'm not trying to keep my missus angry out in Italy, so I hope you guys enjoy. Hit that like button, and let's get straight into things. BetterHelp are the paid partners of today's video. Now, I want to have a serious conversation about something that I feel quite strongly about, and that's always been mental health. Now, I'm sure that a lot of us can maybe relate to this feeling and understand what it's like at some points during our life. That can come in the form of things like anxieties, whether that's socially or more internally. That can come in the form of depressions. That can come in the form of even more serious things like childhood traumas, things that are even affecting you in your day-to-days now. Mental health doesn't mean just one thing, as it affects us all personally a lot more differently. But I think one thing that can help a little bit, not cure, but help, is kickstarting that conversation at least. Conversations lead to actions, and actions can hopefully lead to better outcomes when it comes to dealing with these issues. And I have to say, this is where I find therapy quite useful, because it's quite easy to feel overwhelmed because you constantly tell yourself that you can't talk to anyone, and you internalize all the difficulties that you face. Having someone that you can talk to about your emotions, your feelings, your difficulties, it can help you gain new perspectives and maybe new ways to tackle the individual things that affect you. And this is where BetterHelp can be that tool that can help you through your difficulties, because BetterHelp is an online platform that connects you with credentialed therapists who are trained to listen and offer you helpful advice that is always unbiased. Now, how does BetterHelp work? Well, use my link in the description, click on that, and answer a few questions. Once you do that, you then get matched to a therapist that has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can communicate with your therapist through things like phone calls, video chats, even messaging. Whatever you feel is more comfortable for yourself. It's the easiest way to start talking to a therapist, all from the comfort of your own space. Once you answer your questions, you're then usually matched with a therapist within 48 hours. Use my link in the description below, or choose BlueLionsTV during sign up to receive a special discount on your first month. Now, just as we can go to the gym to get stronger and build our muscles, I also see the brain as another muscle that we should also take care of the same way. And just as joining the gym for the first time can be the hardest step, it's the same thing with mental health. So let BetterHelp make that first step just a little bit easier for you. Check out the link in the descriptions and get started on your better mental health journey. Let's start with things with the latest updates surrounding Michael Olise, because late last night we got more big updates surrounding the story. Funny enough, Crystal Palace came in with a new contract offer which would offer him higher wages and a new release clause. Now, one of the funniest moments for me personally last season was watching Olise, deep the fact that he signed an extension when his move with us fell off last summer. I don't think this kid's making the same mistake again, right? I think Crystal Palace, you should have known what type of talent you had for a long time. You should have slapped in a 100 mil release clause from last year. You messed up, and I don't see Olise making that same mistake this season. In the meantime though, even though reports are suggesting that we are happy now to hit and trigger this release clause, I don't personally fully buy it, because there was also strong inclinations that Crystal Palace could be happy to receive a player on loan. Now, they would have taken Lewis Hall on loan last season. We have a wealth of talents at this football club, and I'd imagine that Crystal Palace are keeping their eyes out on a lot of players at the moment. So let's see what happens, because I'm not expecting this deal to get completed, before this month ends. That would be incredibly surprising, even though I think ideally we would like to make sure we're in that position. Yes, we know Newcastle and Bayern have been given permission to hold talks, but they feel pretty futile. But of course, a subscriber last night did remind me, actually, Nini, you're talking about Olise potentially being here for pre-season. Have you forgotten that this guy is with France for the Olympics? And of course, the opening Olympic game starts on the first day of our first pre-season game against Wrexham. So we'll have to wait for him before we can actually see him play for us. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's worth the wait, and at the moment we have to get this deal tied down. And now, my friends, let's be focused on the massive breaking story of today, and it involves Boca Juniors wonder kid defender in Aaron Anselmino. Now, there'll be a part 1 and part 2. Getting straight into part 1, a big article came out from The Athletic discussing the youth strategy at our football club and under Clear Lake Consortium. At the moment, as we know, we are aggressively pursuing signing the next elite talents in football, and this is something we are doubling down on even more. This is our strategy. We are signing the best elite talents in the world. Now, it does kind of seem like this is like every man's FM playthrough come to life. It's a bit funny, to be honest with you, but it explains why we've invested so much money into recruitment at this football club. Of course, we've recently added a new director of global recruitment in Sam Jewell from Brighton. We know that we signed the ex-chief scout from Corinthians, Brazilian Alisson Marins, who has extensive knowledge of all talents in Brazil. And is it any surprise that we are looking to scour the best of what South America can offer this football club? And we've assembled a world-class team that are experts, that have world-class elite expert knowledge on all things South America. Esteval Willian, Kendry Paez, of course Andre Santos, David Washington, Angelo, you can go on. Yes, we missed out on Pedro Lima, but it seems like the next big South American talent we are hoping to add is Aaron Anselmino. I'll get on to him. Let's continue on with part 1 first. But the article mentions that at the moment, Clear Lake and Bowley do not believe it is realistic or sustainable to target the world's best established players at their peak value. They would rather try to sign the potential superstars of tomorrow at a lower cost, develop them in the right way, and then retain them. Now, of course, big question marks and italics around developing them, because at the moment everything about our strategy is incredible theoretically, but in reality things aren't really falling into place like that, because life doesn't necessarily work like that. I'm not here to talk down on what we're doing. I can kind of respect the fact that we are so aggressive in our philosophy and approach right now, but my thing is I also have to equally see the actions in place now to make sure that if we are targeting all these best youth players, we are also understanding that maybe if we missed out on Champions League football for one season, isn't necessarily a cry for help to then cancel everything, hire a new manager and start again. I don't think so. Time will tell though, but that's only one facet of this conversation. But you might be thinking to yourself, okay, Nini, it's nice that we're signing, superstars in the making, but what about the superstars that we're making in our own football club in Cobham? Now, of course, we can't be too cynical. Tyreek George has signed a contract extension. We rate players like Josh Achimpong and a few others within the academy. We have one of the best academies in the country, and we still invest to sign talents from across the country to improve the quality of our academy. But there was something very interesting revealed in this article, and it mentioned the fact that, essentially we may be looking to build a future squad that consists of incredible elite talents we're signing, fighting it out with the elite talents we're producing in our academy. And I don't know, it kind of feels like, are we going for like this Hunger Games style development path, which seems very brutal at a very young age. The competition level is that high, and I'm cynical, but then when it's that high for the youth, but then guys like Cucurella, who's an okay player, decent player, not world class, when these guys have positions in your squad, I'm not too sure, but I think that these things will evolve and change as seasons go on, right? It's not perfectly fine-tuned yet, but it's getting there. So all we can do now is wait and see how this all plays out in the future. But in the meantime, my friends, let's now focus on part 2, and that's discussing who exactly Aaron Anselmino is and why he is seen as such an exciting defensive talent in the game. Now on screen, I'm going to show you guys a tweet that I put out like a few months back. I'll put the link in the description if you guys want to read it for yourselves. Pause the video at this point if you want, but I thought to myself, you know what? I'm a nerd. I like to think about football. You guys know this. You might have even heard me mention this point before in videos back in the day, but I look at where the game is. I see the pressing demands now that, you know, top teams expect now, and there's greater pressing demands placed on forward players than ever before. So I thought to myself, listen, football is an ever-evolving game where things change tactically, new players get produced, certain profiles are kind of like needed more compared to others, and then, you know, it's constantly going back and forth. But I thought to myself, you know what, maybe the future is you need more press-resistant style defenders that can play through the last lines more. Not only do they have to be press-resistant, they have to know how to move the ball, because essentially they must kickstart the attacks. Kickstarting the attacks becomes even more important than ever before right now. And is it any surprise that we're seeing this emergence of a new generation of defender coming through? We're seeing some examples now like Gavadio, Calafiori as like examples of this, but in the future you're looking at your guys like Hator from Ajax, super talent. Huijsen, don't know why Juventus aren't keeping this kid. And another player in this family of new gen defender coming out right now is Boca Juniors' 19-year-old centre-back in Aaron Anselmino. Now let's focus on the news, my friends, because this news actually first came out in the end of May. I remember reading this because it came from The Sun, but I didn't really give too much attention to it. I wish I did, because I would have been ahead of the curve then. But in the meantime, of course, it was revealed all the way back then that we were already looking at talents in Boca Juniors, and he was someone on the horizons. Since then, the Argentinian journalist broke the news that we have made an offer close to around 13.1 million towards Boca Juniors for the defender. Since then, it's come out that actually the confirmed offer we made was 14.1 million plus 3.1 million in add-ons, with a 4-year deal proposed to the player. But 4 years, I'm not too sure about that. You know that we do 6 years, 7 years, plus an extra year on top. But even more, since then, it has been confirmed that actually he has a $25 million release clause, and I think that's closer to around like 19.5 to 20 million pounds. So technically, after the first bid has been rejected, we are only 2.8 million pounds off from maybe triggering this deal. Let's see how things play out. But you might be wondering, Nini, is this another big money guy we're making for Strasbourg? What's going on? No, because in fact, he is a player that would be targeted for our first team and would be coming in for next season. That is how much he is valued and rated. And it's crazy because he's only played like, I think 10 or 11 professional games at Boca Juniors. 10 or 11 games. It tells you everything you need to know about our aggressive youth strategy now when it comes to signing the next great players, where if we see you're like a fraction of your talent, boom, that's all we need. We're going to beat the competition now to sign you, and they're going to miss out, right? So this is a very big story, very interesting story. And remember, when Esteval William was getting tied up, it was also announced at the time that we were still monitoring other talents in South America. We found out that Pedro Lima was one of them. It's quite clear Anselmino is the other, and I think there's another 1 or 2 talents from South America. I know that one of them was the 16-year-old Cam Maston Tuno. He could be one, but then I think to myself, you know, we can't be going crazy with attacking mids, right? But maybe we can, because we have the money for that. And I do think that with this strategy, we can afford to have a strategy like this, because, you know, as Bowley and the co said, if you're signing peak talents, they come with peak contracts, peak money, peak agent fees, signing on fees, etc, etc. However, if you're signing them at the infancy of their careers, you know, you can actually leverage losses a lot easier, and most times you're making a little profit. And maybe this is why we see this as the guaranteed way for us to push ourselves back on the top. And then it gets me thinking, outside of maybe just like getting European football, are we kind of open to just like giving time to let a young team build and grow for the future? time will tell. But I feel like to do even more justice to discussing Anselmino, I'm probably gonna have to do a reaction video. Stay tuned for that. But to give you guys some very quick analysis, he's like 6'2". He can play with both feet, which is another massive bonus. He's very, very press resistant. And what I love about his press resistance is that because he can create the extra yard of space for himself to play in, it also shows how good his decision making is in terms of how he is orchestrating the attacks from deep right, how he's breaking those lines with passes, how he's finding players in positions. It's very nice and top to knowing that he's skillful, great on the ball, phenomenal passer, great weight, tall, but also the guy is exceptionally fast as well too. He's one of those talents where if you fully back him, let him develop, let him grow, put your arm around him, are you looking at potentially one of the next elite defenders of his generation? And in terms of defending, I'll give you guys a quick lazy comparison, but I would kind of say he reminds me a lot of Andreas Christensen in the sense that Christensen did not get enough credit for how he positioned his body to face the ball and to face his man. He was very, very good at doing that. Most times when he lost out on defensive duels, it was because of his lack of strength, but he filled out, he got better in that department, or maybe sometimes he'd be beaten by pace outside on the flanks right. But in terms of defensive intelligence, I mean, he has that in abundance. You can see it in his game today. That's why he's at Barcelona. And I think Anselmino has that Christensen IQ that I rate very highly. So my friends, how do you feel about this news? You know, surprise players we're looking towards. I think this summer is going to be full of surprises in terms of players we're bringing in, the recruitment we're doing. So yeah, let's brace ourselves. It's going to be a very exciting ride this summer. Share your thoughts and opinions of my friends on that note. I am the EFC, this is Blue Lions TV. See you guys all soon.